Welcome back to the Wise Divine Women podcast, where we help you go from fed up to faith fueled, helping you to become the wise divine women that you've been called to be. Today, I have Kristy Berry from Cenegenics, and I am really excited to understand exactly what performance aging and health management is all about. And I'm really excited to hear her journey. And so, Kristy, welcome to the show.
Dana, thank you so much for having me on your show. I am just thrilled to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Cenegenics, where did that even begin? What brought you on the journey of helping women at any stage of life?
It's a great story. I love sharing it. So Cenegenics, I started with Cenegenics 26 years ago, and the company was founded 28 years ago. So we have really been the global leader in performance health and longevity medicine. Our goal is really to create a future for everyone where they can look, feel, and truly live at their highest potential for decades to come. We take an approach that is fueled by technology, data, cutting edge science, and really offering a first of its kind personalized experience that is very precision crafted, very personalized in one's journey in health, that not only helps enhance longevity, but also helps elevate just daily living. Our goal is really around helping our members live better, longer lives. And for me, especially when it comes to women, it is just a soft spot in my heart and something I've just been so passionate about in my journey with Cenegenics, being able to recognize that, I think so often, women are going along in their lives. There's, various things happening at different stages. And I think there comes a point in time where they just feel like, gosh, I feel different, right? I feel different. I'm more tired. My stress is through the roof. I'm not sleeping well. Maybe I've put on a few extra pounds. And I think that traditional medicine has very much just said, well, that's what happens when you age. Just deal with it. And what I've been able to do with, the work at our practices is to say, no, that's not the case. You do not have to settle. You do not have to accept that aging has to be this grueling, oftentimes, gruesome even, just depending on like how it's impacting you, experience. And you truly can live optimize. You can stay at, kind of your peak performance. And you can do all the things that you love doing. And it doesn't matter at, what age that is. You just need to be able to know what's happening so that you can
Yeah.
address it and then have solutions to help you navigate through it. Because again, every person is different and everything that we do it needs to be personalized to us. And I think that's where traditional medicine falls short. They're doing it for the masses and
Right.
not for each individual person.
Right, exactly. And I love that because the technology is there. So even in the last 26 years, the technology has probably changed multiple times. So I work within thermography, which is just like basic understanding visually the metabolic process of the body. And so now I even understand from the perspective of how important individualized blood work, DEXA scans, even epigenetics, all of those things, how they can come together. Are those the types of devices that you would use to help identify people? Or what are the techniques that you're using to help people understand their health now and then for the future?
100%. Yes. Yes. And I love that you shared that because I think from my view is I want to be able to drive awareness around we shouldn't be looking at things singularly. Our bodies are so complex and everything interacts and intertwines with your whole function. So whether that's internally your biomarkers, your epigenetics, or even your lifestyle, right? And what you're being exposed to externally. And so for me and for, how we're helping women, it is very much focused around a very holistic, comprehensive approach. So we want to get to the root cause, but to do that, you do have to look at everything. So looking at your biomarkers and not just your typical kind of like few labs that you go to your primary care and get, But looking at literally, over 200 biomarkers in your body. So, if you can believe that, that's what there is to look at and explore and understand. And then you take that information and couple that with biometric data. And so that's where we're going to talk about like the technology, right? The diagnostics. Can we be able to understand just kind of like your whole comprehensive body through like a DEXA scan? So looking at your total body mass, your lean muscle mass, your body fat percentage, and importantly, your bone density. Right? We want to also look at your cognitive health. How is your brain functioning? What are indicators for potential decline or that fogginess that we sometimes feel? How can we address those things? Looking at your arteries as well, understanding, do you have already some plaque built up? Is your blood flowing the way that it should be? And if not, like what type of plaque is it, and what interventions are there? And importantly, your heart, right? So I think that your heart tells you so much, and for us, especially because we're taking a holistic approach, being able to do like a VO2 max test. And I'll be honest, I mean, it's not the most pleasant test, it's pushing you to your max limit. Yeah, but the data that comes out of it is so critical and so informative because it tells us a few things. One, it tells us, cardiovascularly, how is your heart endurance, right? And it helps identify if there's, a predisposition maybe for heart disease or things of that nature. And also it helps us identify a personalized exercise prescription for you. So yes, it's looking at your heart health and being able to address that. But what then do you do with that information? And being able to personalize that to you, because, think about it. You go to the gym and you think, oh, well, I'm just going to do my HIIT exercise or my cardio, and I feel like my heart rate is up, but is it to the level that it needs to be so that it is actually working in a way that is beneficial for your body, so that you are increasing your lung capacity, you are able to metabolize things at a higher rate. And so really being able to understand like what is that threshold and what's too high as well, right? So if you like just kill yourself in the gym, you might just be doing that, but you're not getting the benefit of it.
Right.
So all of these testings, from the biometrics to the biomarkers, pulling that together and then layering on top of that your own lifestyle. What do you do every day? Are you sedentary? Are you active? How are you eating? How are you sleeping? What is your mental wellness state? And what is your family history too? Your DNA, those genetics, they play such an important role. And so being able to look at all of that together in a one place to truly have like the most in-depth view of how your body is functioning, then arms you and your physician with the information necessary to then make decisions for not only today, but into the future. And, being able to really identify those key areas, because it's about habit changing, right? We could like throw a whole list of things, Dana, that you need to change or I need to change. That's a lot to take on,
It's a lot.
especially for a woman, right? Especially if you're, you're a busy executive, you're working, you've got a family, maybe you're taking care of your elderly parents, like all of that stuff's like, oh my gosh, how do I fit that into my life? And then you don't do everything, or maybe you don't do any of it because it's just so overwhelming. It's important to make it in digestible pieces that, start small, little steps, add to bigger and greater things that really help you change how your body is adapting and aging into your older years. And I think that's where true success comes, because you want it to be sustainable. You want to be consistent. And again, you don't have to do it all at once, but just starting and then continuously monitoring. It's not like a one and done thing. You want to
No.
constantly reevaluate, because your body's changing. And then if you're implementing some of these changes, it's going to change even more. So what's next and what's on the horizon? And I think that that's one thing that, often people mistake. It's like, oh, well, I can just do this. Or, again, I want to take that like one single pill to make me feel amazing. The reality is that doesn't necessarily exist. But what is possible is absolutely achievable when you have the right information and you're addressing it in a way that works within your daily living, and you can adopt it and be consistent.
I love that aspect of that sort of 200 blood marker test, because even with the simplest of testing that they do with their general practitioners, it's never discussed wholly. It's never
Right.
like, it's never defined to them, and I find that very frustrating. Not that it's the doctor's fault. So they're set into a very strict box, and they're not allowed to step outside of that box. They're brilliant, but that's it. And it's when you're coming to facilities like yourself and you have these markers, you have this understanding, what does it mean and what can I do to help and where has it changed from year to year? So your company is a membership as well. You have those levels.
We do. It is a membership program, and I think one of the things that makes it really achievable, going back to using that word again, right, is we are very much focused on meeting people where they're at. So if you think about traditional medicine or your primary care, kind of to your point, like they go over like a snippet of your information. Do you know that the average woman spends about 7 minutes with her doctor a year? 7 minutes. That's it. What can happen? I mean, like, what can you really accomplish in 7 minutes?
It's a sad state of affairs, that's for
It
sure.
is. It is. And so for us, being able to meet people where they're at, being able to take this comprehensive view, we've created membership tiers that allow people to enter at whatever state makes sense and is comfortable for them. So if they're looking to just dip their toe in and just do that initial exploration with the biomarkers, they can do that. So, they'll come in, we'll send a phlebotomist to their home or office, we'll draw those labs. We will then have them do a consultation with one of our physicians and to really understand like what's there and what maybe has been flagged as something they should be aware of. And then also for us, then we're able to provide solutions for that. Now, if you're an individual who says, you know what, I want to go a little bit deeper, I want to understand a little bit more about myself, or maybe like the biohacker, right? So the biohacker is like, I want the tests. I want to go through the tests. We have programs where, you can come into one of our locations. We've got 20 locations across the US, and you can come in, you could spend the day with us, go through those diagnostic testing innovations that we have, as well as the biomarkers that we'll have collected. And then that's going to give you an even broader insight, again, into what your body is doing and help you come up with those goals. So at the end of that day, when we've got all this information, you've spent, call it 4 to 6 hours with us, not 7 minutes, 4 to 6 hours. We're then able to create a personalized program for you that we really want to partner with you on. We want to be on this journey with you. So we're going to identify whether it's hormones, peptides, nutraceuticals, whatever it might be for you. We work with best in class companies to provide the products, the ongoing lab testing. We can dig deeper into some specialty testing. And so these membership programs that I have, again, it's almost like an ecosystem. I like to think of it. So you can age with us, and we've got kind of that starting point to the most comprehensive premium offering, but it's all geared around what do you need and at what stage do you need it. And so it's really making like, I like to think of it as like you're making like a lifestyle commitment, right, to yourself, to say, you know
Absolutely.
what, this is not just I'm going to do this for a month or 6 months. Like this is going to be the future of how I want to live my life, how I want to show up for my family, for my coworkers, et cetera. And I have a partner that can help me navigate this as I age. And we have access to those tools and those tests and everything that can help you really put it together to make sure that for you, we're keeping you optimal all the way, like, as I said, into your older years.
Right, right. And I think it's so important because we know that, metabolic disease, diabetes, stroke, even dementia and Alzheimer's are really on the rise, not only from a population basis, a percentage, but we see it starting at earlier ages. And it's because we really haven't stepped back and looked at how our body functions, what we really need to work on, not as I'm just going to pick up this book and read it, but right from your cells. What's it telling you? What's going to be the best? Is HIIT or is Pilates or is walking or speed walking going to be better for you from your cellular makeup? And then even nutrition. Nutrition is not just a one and done like we've always been led to believe. It is individualized now. It needs to understand where you're at with your metabolic process, your markers, and what's going to be the best approach for you for speedy healing. And then that longevity point. And I love all of this because it's out there and we need to talk about it. And it can be really hard, or it can be really defined and stepped out for you with people like yourself. So I think that's just brilliant.
No, I appreciate that. And I think that, you know, there's so much information, almost information overload, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like the good and the bad. Like I have to say, obviously having been in this business now for almost 30 years, watching the evolution and shift that's been made to draw more awareness to taking back control of your health and your own body, I think is just phenomenal. And in the last 5 years, that has happened in such an accelerated way. And I love it. I just love it. But it's a lot of information. And I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of great information and great people and great solution. But there's also kind of just people wanting to jump on the bandwagon and just kind of like sell you this, the newest, shiniest, sexiest object, right? And how do
Terrible.
you it is. It's like,
Yeah.
so how do you sift through that? How do you know? And how do you know what works, what doesn't, how you pull it all together? And, that's something, when I look at the patients that have been part of our program and our memberships, like the transformation and the outcomes are just amazing. Like they're so rewarding. And, one of the things that kind of got me into this to begin with, I've just, since I was a little, I love taking care of people. I love helping people. I want the best for people. And when I had this opportunity, it was, I was going to go two routes. I was just going to be a nurse, or I was going, or this, right, with Cenegenics. And I saw that there was just this proactive preventive approach, and it all comes down to education and awareness. And I think that's what I would say is, there is data is power, right? Data is power, but within the right context and interpreted by experts in those respective areas. And so, there's a whole host of things you can do above and beyond, what I kind of just explained Cenegenics does, whether it's cold plunges or your morning routine. I've got my, you wear your Aura ring for your sleep and so forth. But being able to have a partner and somebody who truly gets to know you and can really help you navigate that, I think is the key to success. And it's so important because it is changing. It's ever changing. And so while yes, you're changing, the science is changing and that information. And I loved when you mentioned, kind of like, do I do HIIT? Do I do Pilates? I don't know, some of the viewers out there may or may not know this, but if you do your genetic testing, there's a nutrigenomic test that actually looks at how your muscle fibers respond to your activity and your movement. And so for me personally, I loved doing the elliptical. That was my thing. And what I discovered was that, yes, there's benefit for me, but the way that my muscle fibers and my genes interact with that type of exercise movement, I wasn't getting full benefit. And so I was, had suggestions coming out of that to say, look, why don't you consider doing a rower, right? Like, let's switch it up. And so little things like that, I think are just, it's just like that education around it can
Yeah.
get so precise. And the more precise you can get, again, the better, longer lasting outcomes you can have.
Yeah, and I think that even understanding from those hormone testing and the sort of where you are in that parasympathetic sympathetic balance at the time is also going to play a role in what activity is going to drive and switch the body into a more productive healing rather than fighting against itself. And that's a
Right.
conversation I have with people often because visually you can tell it's chaos. And so I'm like, what are you doing? You got to start over. You've got to switch that healing process back on. And that's what's so great about sort of that epigenetic, or like you said, the composition of the muscles and what's going to work best for you. Because again, we have to be precise to ourselves and what our body needs for the time. And again, that switches. So it's not maybe rowing for now or elliptical, but maybe it is more of yoga, maybe some
Right.
kinesiology work, some precise work, and to switch that fight or flight off so that it can start repairing your hormonal imbalances and restore balance, balance to the body
Yeah.
And again, that would all depend on what your blood work is saying and what your test results are showing and all that compiled information, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's interesting because I think that our body, I don't think, I firmly believe our bodies signal to us
Mhm.
what is not only happening now, but what's on the horizon. And if there's one thing, right, that I would just encourage everybody to do is like listen to your body because it's going to signal you before even some symptoms set in. And and I think that it kind of like circles back to recognizing that we don't have to settle for like the traditional elements of aging. And it's like, oh, well, I just feel like this because now I'm in my 50s or my 60s. No,
Mhm.
there's options, there's choices, there's really being able to get to know who you are. And I think taking back that control of your health, and being like the CEO, I call it the CEO of your body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so important. I think everybody in general, but women in particular, we take care of people. We take care of a lot. If we don't focus on ourselves and we leave that to last, we don't have as much to give as we potentially could. And so being able to say, you know what? No. I am going to make sure that I can take care of myself and that I am optimized and I am really doing everything in my power to, be at my fullest health potential, that then just explodes the potential then for what you can do for everybody else in your
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
And I think that is something that I when I talk to women all the time, we have these conversations where they're like, I give, and I'm exhausted. And it's like, okay, and
Yeah.
that's beautiful. But what if you gave to yourself? And then you could continue giving and you don't feel as exhausted. It is possible. Like it is so possible. I see it in my patients all the time and it's life-changing. I mean, it is true. I mean, even myself, I worked my way up through the company, over the 26 years and I started young and I started a family. I had two young girls. I was, moving up the corporate ladder, all the stuff. And I got to a point where I just felt drained, just absolutely drained. And I started taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, right? Just because I thought that's what my doctor prescribed. That's what I thought I needed. And I was, and it sounds crazy to say, I mean, I was working at Cenegenics, but I wasn't myself, like
Yeah.
putting myself first, right? And so when I finally said, okay, I don't like the effects of how I'm feeling, So now, yeah, it helped me here, but now I've got like low libido or this, that, and the other. And so I really embraced a full Cenegenics program for myself and it changed my life. I went
Mhm.
off all of those medications, not been on them for 15 plus years. And it's really been able to um, help me be the best version of myself.
Right.
And being able to experience that personally makes me want to just like sing it to the world. Cause I'm like, I know that every single woman out there can be the best version of themselves. And I want to help them do it. And like I said, it's about arming yourself with information and data. That's where you start. And once you get that, then it's about attitude and effort. So you've already made the choice, you want to make a change. Now let's just put some effort behind it and like fuel that fire.
I think you're so correct. Like many healthcare healers, entrepreneurs, CEOs never put themselves forward until it's like they've hit that wall or
Yeah.
they've hit menopause and it's really slapped them sideways. And that's what happens. It's the sum of all those things. And when the cup is empty, it's like, okay. And it's really part of humbling yourself to recognize, okay, I've got to walk the walk, not just talk about it all the time. So I hear that often, so
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
with so many
Yeah.
people that especially who are coaches and or massage therapists themselves or, hands-on people. And it's just this, they know what they need to do, but they don't get to that point, that breaking point. And exactly, you would be working in this beautiful company, but being with a young family, being entrepreneur, being this go, go, go working, you would never take the time to do all the stuff yourself. You wouldn't have time for it. So it would come to that point, right? And
Yeah,
everyone else
huge
around,
aha.
yeah, yeah. Everyone else around you is going, it's about time.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I had this aha moment. I'm like, "What have you been doing for the last 10 years?
it's so
What
true.
have you been
So
doing?"
true.
Oh,
I love that. So,
yeah.
I mean, with the, so you look at things from the foundation up. And when it comes to peptide work, right, or even hormone replacement, you're looking at how to repair before you add in those additions, or you're just like, we know the science. This is what you're trying to achieve. Let's apply these skills, or let's apply these therapies, I guess, peptides. Because my question always comes, are you repairing the terrain of why those amino acids and why those peptides aren't being produced naturally? That's always the question I have. So are you
Question. Yeah.
looking at the person first and trying to repair naturally before adding in all the
Yeah.
cherries on top?
What yes. That is our philosophy. That is we are strongly rooted in trying to identify what what changes or interventions without pharmaceuticals, hormones, or peptides can be made to address some of the things that have been identified first and really like course correct. And then once we get you to I don't want to use stable, but I'm going to use it here. Like kind of like that, kind of like, okay, now we've addressed some of those foundational things. Now, how are we doing? Now let's watch it, right? Let's see how your body's continuing to evolve. And then if and when clinically indicated, we might need to do some supplementation or introduce some peptides, right? But it's not the first go-to. It's very
Right.
much around what are you putting in your mouth? How much are you sleeping? And how
What's
much
going
are you
on?
moving?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's so true. And I'm glad that you put it that way because the peptide talk is a hot topic and it can be probably because it's so new, there's probably going to be a lot of lash or side effects that are coming out of it because people are not utilizing it properly. They're just thinking it as a band-aid. It's going to be the big fix, but they're missing the biggest picture of all, identifying the problems and the opportunities or the healing opportunities first before adding in all these things, right? And that will end up ruining it for everybody else.
It
Yeah,
will, and I've seen that over, the last 3 decades. I've seen, different things come in and out, and I think that that is why, as much as I love the awareness and all the new to the field and space, I get concerns me because, it if people are just latching on to, oh, well, I can just take peptides and that solves all of my problems. It's like, no, 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 no. Again, there is no single source solution. There really is not. I mean, it's you have to get to the root cause, and lifestyle plays such a huge role in your health in so many ways. And lifestyle is the basics. And it is not it's not sexy, right? It's not like, ooh, like this is what it is. And but the reality is it is the most impactful area of your life and your health that you can address and do at very low cost, quite frankly. And then as you've got that like foundation built, yeah, sure. You know what? If clinically indicated as you age, you need to kind of keep some levels at an optimal range, there are solutions for that, but not addressing kind of that underlying lifestyle approach. You're doing yourself a disservice. And so we focus very much on education and awareness around that because we want we want it to be sustainable. We want long-term success. And because it is so important to not just do like the quick fix now because you might feel great now or for the next 2 decades. But what happens when you're in your 70s, 80s, and 90s,
it's a
right?
sharp decline.
And how are you functioning then? Because you absolutely can be still functioning and doing all the things you love if you've taken the right steps and you've built a strong foundation and you have some supplementation. But if all you've ever done is like focus on singular things, I mean, you're going to bounce all over the place. And then those last 10, 15 years of your life, Cenegenics wants you to have just to be as active as you can, right? So it's not about living forever. It's about extending the years that you have in a way that is super productive and allows you to still be yourself and not be dealing with the diseases or if you're in a home or on all of these medications, being able to really have a life that is sustainable and very much focused on overall well-being and health is really I've said it a few times, but it is the key to success. It's what taking a proactive. And so I think you asked in the beginning, like performance
Yeah.
health or performance management.
Yeah.
Performance is getting up and doing what you do every day.
And
It's
being
not
good.
specific to
Yeah.
sports. It's not specific. I think some people like correlate, oh, performance health. It's just you work with athletes. No, 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 no. You perform every day. So whatever that performing is, getting up and taking care of your family, getting up and going to work, doing podcasts, being, an advocate in your community, whatever that is, you're performing, and being able to perform at your best is really what we want to arm people with the tools to achieve that.
Yeah. That's so excellent. And it is a good reminder. Every day should be optimal, and you should feel great when you get up, and you should feel ready to sleep at a good time and fall asleep easily, and have this forgetfulness or this overwhelm. And it is stepping back and really being precise about what your foundation is and utilizing the technologies that are there today, right? And being ready and prepared to, oh, yes, let's try this new technology when it comes into play, because everything is advancing so well. And it's like Cenegenics, like your company, like the people like you have, the doctors, your therapists, your all the different coaches that are there, all have the same goal of helping people to age really well. And that's our
Yes.
goal in life. We see the diseases that are down there, and it becomes overwhelming trying to wade through all of the information that's available on Google or Chat GPT. But again, we want to know what's precise for ourselves, and everything is individual. And,
Yeah.
and I think we're all ready for that type of healthcare because we know that the regular model hasn't been the same.
It
We
has
need it.
we
We
need
need it, but it's not that individualized longevity plan.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, like speaking specific to women, right? I oftentimes think that, women as they start to go through menopause, they're in menopause, they're like, oh my gosh, it's like the end of my youth. Like it's done. And it's like, no, it is not. It is an evolution. Every woman goes through it. And being able to navigate that in a way that keeps you true to yourself, and because it is absolutely possible, really allows you to leave your mark in the world. And so it doesn't just like stop and then it's like downhill from there. No, I mean, you can still be climbing that hill. And that's what I see with the women that we work with. And even in my friend groups and my family, it's something that, I want everybody to understand. You have a choice, our solutions, and aging can be so beautiful. It should be beautiful. And there's a way to do it in where you're able to, again, start, and it's never too late to start, right?
Never
It's
too
never
late.
too late to start.
Yeah.
If you just start and you start making those changes, then that journey and that path for you can be something really incredible. And you don't have to maybe experience what your mom or your grandmother experienced, because they didn't have the information, or the access. So that is, I'm really passionate about that. And
Yes, I love that.
I
Yes.
really am passionate about that. I had my own kind of journey into menopause with that. And I guess that's where I just want people to understand that precision medicine, being proactive, is something that is available, and every person should want to know everything. Everything about all the other things you do in your life, your finances, your family, the school, the work, whatever it is. take the time to get to know yourself and everything about yourself, and then find ways to optimize it, and you are going to have such a fulfilled life, and it's just such a wonderful thing. And so yeah, I really just, my goal is just to drive awareness and education for women to know what's possible. Again, all people, but women in particular, because I just think we've been a bit dismissed, and the information hasn't been there and widely available and or accepted. And now's the time to like say yes, like I am choosing me, and that's, I'm doing this because I want to be the best version of myself for everyone around me and everything I'm doing, and really creating that beautiful legacy.
I love it. I love it. That is very wise words, Kristy. Sorry, very wise words. And I truly appreciate your passion and your drive to come alongside women and point them in a direction of longevity and wellness and performance and just optimal health,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Being beyond 50 is just like, it should be this whole new opportunity of fulfilling your own density, fulfilling your purpose, being passionate about things and not what we've believed it to be. And it is identifying those core things that are out
It
of
is.
balance, being
It
really
is.
precise so that everyone's like, I'm having such bad menopause symptoms. I'm always like, it's the sum of it all. You
It
haven't
is.
taken care of it anything. How do you expect a hormone change, a natural process, to
Right.
be any better if you're still holding on to everything behind you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have to be precise, and I love this. I love this, Kristy. I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your passion. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Thank you so much for being part of the show.
Dana, thank you so much for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Well, what a fantastic podcast today. Have yourselves a wonderful day today and hope we helped you on the road of being fed up to faith fueled, helping you to become the wise, divine woman that you've been called to be. And just enjoy the information we gave today. All the information will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for being part of it.